Now let's address the big question, should we be worried about Yellowstone's volcanic activity? Well, it's true that Yellowstone National Park sits atop a massive supervolcano which contributes to the geysers and hot springs that make the area so unique. And it's a big but, underneath this picturesque landscape lies an enormous magma chamber. In 2015, researchers from the University of Utah uncovered some startling facts about this chamber. It's not just big, it's massive. There's not one but two reservoirs of magma, and together they could fill the Grand Canyon not once, but 11 times. Now, that's a lot of molten rock. Here's where it gets a bit unnerving. These magma chambers aren't just sitting idly, they're exerting force on the ground above them. As a result, Yellowstone is on the rise, gaining about 1 to 2 inches per year. That might not sound like much, but when we're talking about an entire national park lifting off the ground, it's something to pay attention to. To add a touch of drama, Yellowstone is classified as an active volcano with a volcanic explosivity index, VI, of 8 out of 8. Translation: if this volcano decides to erupt, it's not going to be a run-of-the-mill explosion. To put it into perspective, the eruption of Pinatubo in 1991, considered one of the most powerful eruptions in recent history, only scored a 6 on the VI. So, Yellowstone is not playing around. Now, let's fast forward to March 2023. The seismograph stations at the University of Utah were buzzing with activity, recording a total of 354 earthquakes in the Yellowstone region. Before you start packing your emergency kit, let me clarify. The most significant quake in this swarm was a modest 3.7 in magnitude. It was part of a series of 106 earthquakes that decided to have a little party starting on March 29th and going on until the end of the month. Earthquakes, it seems, also like a good social gathering. So, should we be worried? Well, earthquakes are a regular occurrence in this region, and Yellowstone has a history of seismic activity. Scientists are keeping a close eye on things, but for now, it's not time to hit the panic button. Yellowstone is doing what it does, being geologically active and keeping us all on our toes. But hey, that's what makes it such a fascinating place, right? Back in the day when Yellowstone had its epic eruptions, there were no iPhones or CNN alerts. But now we're keeping a close eye on things. According to Michael Poland, a geophysicist at the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory, Yellowstone is just doing its usual geological shuffle. He assures us that there's no magma party happening beneath the surface, at least not one big enough to make Yellowstone blow its top. Sure, Yellowstone's seismic activity is a bit jazzed up, more active than your average day. But before you start imagining scenes from a disaster movie, take a breath. Poland and his team are on the case, monitoring everything from underground rumblings to changes in the park's thermal features. They're like the detectives of the geothermal world. They're looking for the subtle signs, the kind that might suggest Yellowstone is getting ready for a volcanic performance. We're talking about thousands of mini-earthquakes, ground doing the wave, and even changes in geyser activity. It's like Yellowstone's own version of a health check. Now, let's debunk a myth. Yellowstone isn't on some volcanic timetable ticking down to an eruption because the last one happened 70,000 years ago. Volcanoes aren't that punctual. They don't follow our calendars. And here's the real talk. If Yellowstone did decide to throw a super eruption party, the lava flows and earthquakes would be just a warm-up act. The real headliner? Ash. Lots and lots of it. Imagine Mount St. Helens, but cranked up to 11. The fallout from a super eruption could be serious business, covering vast areas in a layer of ash. So, should you cancel your summer plans to Yellowstone? Probably not. While it's always good to be prepared, right now Yellowstone seems to be on chill mode. But hey, that's nature for you, unpredictable, powerful, and always keeping us on our toes. Fast forward millions of years and we're piecing together the prehistoric blockbuster that was Yellowstone's super eruptions. The most recent one, the Lava Creek eruption, was like Mother Nature hitting the rewind button on destruction, forming the Yellowstone caldera. But let's turn back the clock even further. Around 9 and 8.7 million years ago, there were two more super eruptions that we just found out about. The younger of the two takes the crown as the grandest event in the history of the Snake River Yellowstone Volcanic Province. It was like the Super Bowl of eruptions. Now, close your eyes and let's imagine a world where I wasn't around. A world where scientists aren't scrolling through Instagram but sifting through rocks and ancient clues. Before the eruption, the Earth's interior was cooking up a storm for thousands of years. Magma, water vapor, gases, and semi-solid rock were having a party in massive underground chambers, creating a high-pressure mix. This molten soup was expanding, causing the land over the volcanic system to rise ever so slightly. Imagine a subtle drum roll, a sign that something big is about to happen. But alas, there were no geologists around to decipher these early warnings. A year before the big show, Yellowstone gave a little hiccup, a geological throat clearing. But in the absence of geology-savvy beings, no one paid much attention. Underground, decompression was happening, releasing gas bubbles like volcanic soda pop. Bursting bubbles signaled trouble, and months before the eruption, earthquakes became the norm, shaking the ground like a prehistoric dance party. The Earth was sending signals, but there was no one to pick up the call. If only the dinosaurs had geophones, they might have thrown on some safety goggles and evacuated the premises. Alas, they didn't, and the rest is history. The eruption spewed ash, dust, and rock, creating what we now know as the Yellowstone caldera. So, the next time you marvel at the geysers and hot springs of Yellowstone, remember that beneath the surface, the Earth holds tales of ancient eruptions, warnings written in rocks, and a dramatic history that even Hollywood couldn't script. Soon. Now, let's paint a vivid picture of what went down in the days leading up to Yellowstone's super eruptions. Imagine Yellowstone as a gigantic bottle of soda. The pressure beneath the surface was building, creating a dome-shaped uplift. Cracks formed along the edges, like opening a shaken soda bottle. The pressure found release through these fractures, much like the eruption of soda when you add Mentos. As the ground lifted, geothermal pools and geysers heated up, reaching boiling temperatures and becoming more acidic. The magma began its journey toward the surface. The rock roof of the magma chamber reached its breaking point, and the eruption commenced. Days before the cataclysm, small tremors set the stage, but the real show started moments before the eruption. With a thunderous roar, a colossal column of lava and ash shot into the air. Within minutes, a pyroclastic flow, a deadly mixture of lava, ash, and gases raced across the landscape at hurricane-like speed. This flow resembled a scorching, toxic snow avalanche, burning everything in its path with temperatures around 1,300 degrees Fahrenheit. The volcano continued spewing ash relentlessly. Fallout covered vast areas, turning landscapes into a desolate, ash-covered wasteland. The eruption injected copious amounts of sulfur into the stratosphere, causing global temperatures to plummet. The sulfur acted as a sunblocker, leading to a worldwide drop in temperatures. The aftermath was catastrophic, no summer for several years, affecting food and water sources globally. The grazing land super eruption left an indelible mark, sterilizing vast expanses of land and turning them into a volcanic glass-covered terrain. If such an event occurred today, it would have devastating consequences, blanketing states like Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming with feet of toxic volcanic ash. Darkness would engulf many regions, disrupting daily life, destroying crops, contaminating pastures, and wreaking havoc on power lines and transformers. Fortunately, experts assure us that such a catastrophic event is not on the horizon. So, as we enjoy the geysers and breathtaking landscapes of Yellowstone, we can appreciate that its turbulent past remains safely tucked away in the pages of Earth's history.